It's time to mess up some kitchen knives.
It's so bad. So bad. Misen is just it's terrible at food.
Here we are again, using kitchen knives for camping. Which is not something we would ever recommend trying, but we've collected a couple of knives that were designed for cooking outdoors over the years, and that gave us the idea to take regular kitchen knives out to see how they did in the same environment for things they were definitely not designed to do. So we ventured out to test the real metal of these knives in the wilds of the Sierra Nevada mountains in unpredictable weather. To find the limit of these knives and ourselves, wait, we're missing somebody. No matter how much some of us didn't want to, we left the relatively sterile safety of our home kitchens and climbed mountains to look unflinching into the harsh results of an experiment that takes a tool out of its intended element to discover just how far you can bend the material makeup before it breaks. At least in theory. We tried to keep it simple. First we carve feather sticks, chop and baton, then we make a fire, then we try a bit of cooking with whatever has enough edge left to cook with. We went into this with some bias. There were a couple knives we expected to hold up the best here, and we were right, for the most part. But before we get into it, maybe you'll want to know what knives we were testing. The off-grid Sierra was the inspiration for this video. It's the only one in the bunch that was actually made for cooking outdoors, which isn't to say that it was made for most of what we do in this video. This was the knife we expected to do the best, though. The Cold Steel Kitchen Classic Chef's Knife. We figured, it's cold steel. They make everything tough. If any kitchen knife was going to be able to chop through a branch and still have enough blade left to cut a slab of meat, it would be one of theirs. The Victorinox Swiss Classic was the other player with high odds. With a comfy handle and tough steel, it should do just fine. The Pioneer Woman Kitchen Knife, which, we'll be honest, we brought along because of the name and the handle decoration. We didn't realize before doing this video that it already had something of a reputation. The gosh dang Dalstrong Shogun X, or Elite now I think, with a blade made of AUS 10V Japanese Super Steel 6-6 layer Tsunami Damascus blade pattern for strength and durability and beauty, and D3 sharpened to 8 to 12 degrees per side and line shield treated to prevent wear, tear, and corrosion, ultra long lasting edge at 62 plus HRC for more time between sharpenings, at least according to Dalstrong's product description. And how can you look at this thing and not want to cut a log in half with it? The same goes for the Dalstrong Valhalla, the knife that, again, according to Dalstrong's listing, which apparently never disappoints for entertainment, lets you hold immortality in your hands and is reserved for only the most courageous of warriors and demonstrates your valor and brings honor to your kitchen. Cool. And finally, the Misen chef knife, which has always done so poorly in the kitchen that we thought we'd give it a chance in the woods just to see if it was good for anything at all. So here's the main thing we learned. We hate making feather sticks with kitchen knives. It won't be any earth-shattering revelation to some people that a long thin blade and a smooth handle make a really bad combination for carving wood. So no surprise.
Nah, it's terrible.
But carving with both of the Dalstrong knives felt like trying to pet a cat the wrong way. The Victorinox and the Cold Steel actually felt okay. They just had a small margin for error, but given a little time to refine our touch, we could have made respectable feather sticks that might actually get a fire going. The off-grid Sierra started to look like the hero of the show here. It had a pretty wide margin for error on making decent lightable curls, and the handle made it easy to control the angle. The surprise here was that both the Misen and the Pioneer Woman did really well. They took a light touch, and the handles actually felt okay to grip up on the whole time. If I had to give an award here, though, I would give it to the Misen because I finally found something it's kind of good at. Now we knew that batoning with any of these knives would be stupid and excessive. That's the kind of thing that would get you a bent blade pretty much right away. What possible data could we hope to glean from smashing a 2mm thick blade supposedly treated to 62 Rockwell through a log with a big stick? The answer is nothing, and we'd like to remind everyone that we are not scientifically minded people. We came out here to hit knives with sticks and branches with knives because we want to. That said, here's how all the knives did. The Victorinox got bent to shit. The cold steel didn't, but maybe that's because we started using smaller logs after what happened to the Victorinox. The Dalstrong Valhalla didn't baton well, but actually came out looking okay. The Dalstrong Shogun also got bent to shit, but the edge looked okay, which kinda makes me suspicious of their heat treatment claims. The off-grid Sierra was great. It split a log about a third of the way down, but that might have had something to do with the shape of that log. The Pioneer Woman continued to be the scrappy underdog and came through with just a slight deformation in the edge. The Misen actually did the best besides the Sierra, no edge deformation, and it started splitting the log a little quicker than the others. I'm going to give the award here to the Dalstrong Valhalla though, because I had hit it the most and it looked great the whole time. We'll be honest, we really wanted to chip some of these knives. And we did, so it all worked out in the end. Actually, all these knives did pretty well if you measure success by how quickly they can chop through a branch. The issue is how usable the knife is when you're done with it. But let's run through them. The Victorinox got bent up pretty bad again, but the handle felt great. To the detriment of the edge, since the handle really helped to keep up the speed and power of the swings. The Valhalla cleared out wood pretty dang fast, but it chipped and the handle was less than ideal. The Shogun chipped almost right away, and the handle was somehow worse for keeping a grip. The Misen actually was great here. It didn't chip or get any obvious rolls in the edge, and even the handle stayed in the hand pretty well in spite of being so smooth. The Sierra not only didn't appear to get any rolls or chips in the edge, but the shape of the handle made the grip really nice for the job. Then the Pioneer Woman. It didn't do better than the Misen, in fact it did get a few rolls in the edge, but it made good progress on a log and the handle felt comfortable through the whole thing, and this is the point where we have to start wondering if it wouldn't be worth getting a sheath made for this thing so we could take it camping on the regular. That said, the award for this round goes to the Victorinox Swiss Classic for achieving the biggest edge deformation we've ever seen. Okay, quick break. We finally chickened out that day because we got tired of dodging the rain. We didn't care about ruining the knives so much, but cameras are expensive. It's also hard to make fire in the rain, and we were going to have to cook at some point, so we skittered inside and saved the cooking for a drier day. But cut to a week or so later, and we're back up a mountain, ready to make a fire in something that looks roughly like a meal. Almost to the food part. Throwing spark was actually one of the more interesting tests here because we really didn't know what to expect. The cold steel was good here, the spine is pretty sharp and the rubber handle helps control the direction. The off-grid Sierra could throw spark well enough, but I actually had a little trouble controlling where those sparks went. Call it lack of skill, but this wouldn't be my first choice in the bunch. The Misen did a little worse, but it was still workable. The Dalstrong Shogun couldn't throw spark off the spine at all. Fortunately, we added a feature to this knife when we chopped with it before. The Valhalla was disappointing. We thought we'd be able to get something good off the fancy jumping on the spine, but it couldn't really throw anything hot enough or consistently enough to start a fire. Which leaves us with the true hero of this story. We had the Reef F5 on standby through this whole shoot. We used it to break down logs and carve the feather sticks that we actually used for tinder, and we thought we were going to use it to light the fire for dinner, until we tested the Pioneer Woman. I think this is the first time I can honestly say that a kitchen knife was the better tool for this particular outdoor job. But this time around the award goes to the Dalstrong Shogun because I somehow find it more likable now that it's broken. This being a video on kitchen knives, we really should have brought more food to prepare, but we didn't want to haul that much up to the campsite. Frankly, it's a miracle we did anything more than cut some jerky in half. After all that, these knives could still cut food, except of course for the Misen, which I think struggled on a tomato about the same as it did before we chopped through a tree with it. But you can get any knife to cut up your dinner so long as you don't care too much what your dinner looks like. So, the Victorinox wasn't left with much usable edge. Both the Dalstrong knives were chipped but still had a little bit of fight in them. The cold steel was fine, I'd bring that back into my kitchen if I had to, and the Pioneer Woman was maybe a little bit better off than the cold steel. But there was only one knife that still excelled at cutting food, and it was not really a surprise. So, the award for the food round goes to the off-grid Sierra for being the only one that was supposed to be here in the first place. I'd like to take a moment to remind everyone that as much as it might sound like I'm making fun of these knives, there's nothing fundamentally wrong with most of them, except for the Misen, besides being largely unused or cheap enough for us to take out into the woods and destroy, and we only really did that for your entertainment, so in that sense this is your fault. If you're looking for educational takeaways, I think I can safely say that a Western-style kitchen knife is the better option for camping in a general sense. But putting the unfair comparison of the Sierra aside, if you forced me to choose from what we tested here, I think I'd have to go with the Pioneer Woman. Anyway, that's all the damage we cared to do today. Check out the video description for links to some of our articles, in case you'd rather read about the knives that are actually designed for this kind of thing. And dig around for a subscribe button if you want to be here whenever we do something stupid again. See you next time.